Are you looking at your children nowadays? Even adolescents, probably even people older than them, who simply don't do anything, they just sit idly and, well, they do their own little things, whatever they may be. They don't seem to manifest much joy, they don't seem to be interested in anything, they always seem tired and, well, it's like they're waiting to just die. Well, I've been through this for a very, very long time, and it kind of took me a while to understand some of the points. But obviously, the answer that I'll provide is not the alpha and omega. Now, see, there is a big, big problem in this whole world that society has been picking on both the energies of us humans and has been tinkering them for its own sick deeds. See, the very big problem in a society is when you pick too much on masculine energy. The problem is the masculine energy, when it's wounded, it either becomes aggressive and expansionist or it becomes secluded and it closes itself in. Typically, you will notice this within men. When men aren't needed in society, when men live in a society that doesn't want them, doesn't give a damn about them, they will simply withdraw within their own shell. Nowadays, everything seems to be specifically against men so that it facilitates or, let's say, cuddles the egos of those silly enough to believe that feminism actually has any good purpose in this whole world. And when you have a world where men do the hard work, because, well, masculine energy is all about destruction and reconstruction, as well as construction and expansion, if you look at history, men have always been shunned away by society. Many will say that women only, but I assure you that men also. And many of these men not only did their work and built their societies, but most likely they will end up, well, coming back at home and not being greeted by any, feminine person. But most likely they will end up in toxic relationships with women who would also pull them down. So after hundreds upon hundreds of years, probably even more, men have gotten used in a way to this. It is in a way in their karmic structure. So when it comes to society, you will see that nowadays, especially, men aren't interested in marriage anymore because they have realized marriage is nothing else than a business. It's always been, but nowadays we are more capable of observing things. Business is typically something that typically represents the woman. She gets some rights, typically she gets some benefits. You're usually not in the benefits because typically as a man you're the one who usually grinds. And a lot of people would be interested in what you have grinded because many people simply prefer being stuck and living in that stuckness so that they can moan and complain and hope that they will win big time in life on the cheesy way, on the more easy way. But the easy way is always gonna get complex and very painful in the end because when you try to cheat and it doesn't work, when you're very resourceful and young, well, it's gonna work somewhat harder when you're gonna become uglier and older. Now, when it comes to uh, adolescents not wanting to do something, they're very sensitive in a world that they know they don't belong to. The world doesn't care about them, and the pandemic has proven them enough. Why? Because, well, they have been hurt, they have been crying, but who was there to listen to them? Not even their parents in most cases. And to the young children's, well, that was a hideous thing because in many situations you kind of program them how to behave when such situations, well, should such situations trigger again. You've given them enough pain for their whole life, but, well, the pains unfortunately won't stop because idiotic parents will always induce even more pain into their children. It seems nowadays that a lot of the men have become not feminized. Well, there are those examples as well, but they seem to have become more feminine than women themselves. They seem to at least be more sensitive to a lot of things. It is a bit hard when you find that men have to take more care of their children because they are the protectors. You ultimately end up with robotic women. They give birth to children, but they don't care about anything else afterwards. This also goes back deep because the first who were picked on were women, right? The first one that will suffer in any sick society that goes beyond the threshold will be feminine energy. Because with masculine energy, it isn't that hard to thwart it, to warp it into whatever way you want, because it is tribal. Masculine energy is about tribalism and requires feminine energy to be elevated, right? But when you create separation in between the two, there will always be societal wars. And feminine energy is different than masculine energy. Feminine energy is not functioning by the principles of stability, nor does it function by the principles of masculinity and tribalism. It is a very awkward energy that can manifest itself as goofy, it can manifest itself as wise, it can manifest itself in all sorts of ways, shapes, or form that can screw you around if you're not prepared for it. Whether it is wounded or whether it is conscious feminine energy, it has that power because its power is to elevate, is to create, is to bring something better. Yes? And the teenagers nowadays, they are very represented by both of these energies. Unfortunately, the masculine energy is all about seclusion nowadays because you live in a world that doesn't give a damn about you. And its whole purpose is to convince you that your life is useless because it simply wants to strip you of anything that you can do. So that you end up thinking, why would you bother doing anything if it's not going to be of any use, right? This is one of the ways through which they are controlling you indirectly. They're also telling you that what's the worth of even voting in your country when everything is rigged anyways, right? More or less. Now, this sick system is crumbling, and obviously, it is gonna be its last struggles. But, well, changes won't come without sacrifices and pain. People have to be pulled out of their misery in order to embrace betterment and become better. But in a sick society where whatever you want to do, you're gonna be pulled down. Even in schools, when you think differently, stupid and idiotic teachers will tell you that you're thinking otherwise, right? They don't want that because they only have or they usually promote weak teachers. I've been telling people for a long time we don't need teachers, we need people who are capable of being careful when they teach and what they teach, right? Teachers are good, but they can also be easily replaced by machines because, especially in sciences, sciences will usually be the same. New ideas will come, yes, as new discoveries unfold, but it's gonna be, strict information. It's not gonna change. So even machines or softwares, these can be much better, much more successful, right? And we need pedagogical people. The system needs pedagogical people or people who know how to teach, people who have a gift when it comes to this. Because anyone can be a stupid teacher. All you have to do is learn some things and then force them into the youngsters' heads. And then everyone's wondering why children are so weak. Well, a lot of idiotic children may say, they are so weak, they are so easily distracted, but look at you first before you comment on your future generations because you are the ones who gave birth to them. Are you sure that you're not worse than them? Because if they end up worse than you, that should be treated as a crime. Because each generation should create a following generation that lives at least better than what they have been through. We've had communism, we've had corporatism, we still have them. Now we have the Braxilian, communist regime that wants to impose itself everywhere in the world, and the so-called New Fart Order. But, well, the point is, these are gonna crumble slowly and surely. But it doesn't mean that one has to simply sit and wait. Because if you don't fight for what you have, but not necessarily in a military way, fighting nowadays has to be in intellectual ways and in emotional ways by showing people better ways in life. If you don't fight for these rights that you still have, you're gonna have the rest of your life to cry for what you have lost. So this being said, hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You're appreciated, take care. And this being said, Ferinjan Board signing out.